Today, it seems like everyone is absolutely obsessed with hiking. You see the same repetitive selfies on Instagram over and over again. Your grandma now suddenly posts mountains and sunsets on Facebook, and worst of all, TikTok has become a breeding ground for hiking influencers. Ugh. With most teens preferring hikes over parties nowadays, and there being weekly hot girl hikes, inspirational cinematic edits, and even trends like soft hiking on TikTok, it seems like this activity is suddenly taking over the world. But how did we even get to this point? And how is this new social media obsession secretly destroying this peaceful activity all over the world? Well, believe it or not, hiking wasn't always about Instagram-worthy views or trending TikToks. For most of human history, walking long distances was just a way to survive. Our ancestors hiked to hunt, gather food, and migrate to new lands. It wasn't exactly a leisure activity when your next meal depended on it. But something changed in the 18th century. A group of nature-loving poets and artists, known as the Romantics, started seeing the great outdoors in a whole new light. They weren't just trudging through the wilderness anymore. They were experiencing its beauty and its power. This shift in perspective laid the groundwork for hiking as we know it today. Take Thomas West, for example. In 1778, he published a guide to the Lake District in England that encouraged people to walk for pleasure. Can you imagine walking just for fun? It was a revolutionary idea at the time. West's guide didn't just give directions, it taught people how to appreciate the aesthetic qualities of nature. It was like an 18th century version of those 10 most Instagrammable hikes listicles we see today. But the real game changer came in the late 19th and early 20th century with the establishment of national parks. In the US, the creation of parks like Yellowstone and Yosemite was driven by a desire to protect wilderness areas from the rapid urbanization and industrialization sweeping the nation. It's like they looked at all the factories and smog and said, you know what? Let's save some of this nature stuff before it's too late. And let's not forget about the Appalachian Trail. Conceived in 1921 and completed in 1937, this 2,190-mile footpath became a symbol of long-distance hiking in the United States. It was like the ultimate challenge for hikers, the Mount Everest of trails, if you will. All of these developments, the Romantic movement, hiking clubs, national parks, long-distance trails, they all contributed to the growing popularity of hiking. But even with all this progress, hiking was still somewhat of a niche activity. It was popular, sure, but it wasn't the cultural phenomenon we see today. Fast forward to the early 2000s and things start to change rapidly. Between 2006 and 2017, we saw a dramatic increase in hiking participation. More and more people were lacing up their boots and hitting the trails, with celebrities like Katy Perry even posting about her Machu Picchu climb on Instagram back in 2015. It wasn't just the outdoorsy types anymore. Hiking was going mainstream. But this was just the beginning, as the biggest surge in hiking's popularity was yet to come. In 2020, something happened that would change the hiking world forever. A global event that would send millions of people scrambling for the nearest trailhead. In March of 2020, the world changed. As COVID-19 spread across the globe, countries went into lockdown, and people found themselves confined to their homes. Suddenly, the great outdoors became more appealing than ever before. It was as if nature had put up a giant neon "open" sign while the rest of the world was closed for business. For many, hiking became a lifeline. A way to escape the four walls of their homes and find some semblance of normalcy in an increasingly abnormal world. It was one of the few activities that remained accessible and relatively safe during those uncertain times. After all, what better way to maintain social distance than on a remote trail? The numbers tell a very compelling story. During the initial lockdowns in April, May, and June of 2020, day hiking participation skyrocketed by more than 8.4 percentage points compared to the same period in 2019. Take the Seattle area, for example. At the height of the pandemic, a staggering 40% of adults reported hiking in the past year, and the total number of hikers in the US jumped up from 49.7 million to 57.8 million in just a single year, the biggest growth it had ever seen. But it wasn't just about getting out of the house. The pandemic created a perfect storm for hiking's popularity surge. With gyms closed and team sports off the table, people were desperate for ways to stay active. Hiking offered a solution that checked all the boxes: exercise, fresh air, and a change of scenery that didn't involve staring at the same four walls. Moreover, as remote work became the norm, people found themselves with more flexible schedules. No longer tied to a 9-to-5 office routine, they could hit the trails during off-peak hours or even take midweek hiking trips. It was like nature's way of compensating us for all those Zoom meetings. And finally, the most significant factor in hiking's pandemic popularity was its ability to provide a sense of connection. In a time of social isolation, hiking offered a safe way to meet up with friends and family. It became a socially distanced social activity, if you will. So many wanted some distraction and physical activity, all while trying to get their mental health in check again from all the isolation. They were sick of wearing a mask 24/7, watching Netflix, and you guessed it, scrolling TikTok. Because it wasn't just the pandemic that made this sudden surge in popularity possible. The video sharing app TikTok, once known primarily for dance challenges and lip-syncing teenagers, became an unexpected catalyst for hiking's meteoric rise. TikTok's algorithm is like a trail guide with an uncanny ability to predict what you want to see next. It serves up an endless stream of bite-sized videos, each one carefully chosen based on your viewing habits. And during the pandemic, when everyone was stuck at home dreaming of adventure, hiking content began to dominate many users' feeds. Suddenly, your screen was filled with breathtaking vistas, serene forest paths, and crystal-clear mountain lakes. It was like a virtual escape, an exciting glimpse of the great outdoors when the real thing felt out of reach. And as restrictions eased, those virtual hikes turned into real-world adventures. But TikTok didn't just show people pretty landscapes. It introduced new hiking trends that made the activity feel more accessible and appealing to a wider audience. Enter #SoftLife and #SoftHiking. The #SoftLife trend was all about embracing a gentler, more relaxed approach to life. When applied to hiking, it transformed the activity from an intense, physically demanding pursuit into something more, well, soft. #SoftHiking videos showcased easy trails, comfortable gear, and a focus on enjoyment rather than endurance. And these trends resonated with people who may have otherwise been intimidated by traditional hiking culture. You didn't need to be a seasoned outdoorsman scaling treacherous peaks. You could be a beginner, taking a leisurely stroll through a local park and still be part of the hiking community. TikTok's algorithm amplified hiking content to millions of users who might have never considered lacing up a pair of hiking boots in the first place. The app's For You page became a gateway to the outdoors, introducing people to the joys of hiking one 15-second video at a time. This increased spread of hiking information had its benefits. It made the activity more accessible, breaking down barriers of entry and encouraging a more diverse group of people to hit the trails. But it also contributed to the phenomenon of viral hikes, and with it, a host of new challenges. Imagine a quiet, little-known trail suddenly becoming internet famous overnight. The trail isn't prepared for the influx of visitors. There aren't enough parking spaces, the narrow path becomes crowded with inexperienced hikers, litter begins to accumulate, and wildlife is disturbed. The very beauty that made the trail TikTok-worthy in the first place is now threatened by its newfound popularity. This is the double-edged sword of TikTok's influence on hiking. On one hand, it's inspiring more people to connect with nature, promoting physical activity, and fostering a new generation of outdoor enthusiasts. On the other hand, it's putting unprecedented pressure on natural spaces that aren't equipped to handle the sudden fame. The Ogwen Valley Mountain Rescue Organization in Wales has seen firsthand the impact of social media-driven hiking. They've reported an increase in rescue operations due to inexperienced hikers attempting difficult climbs after being inspired by social media content. It's a stark reminder that a few seconds of footage cannot prepare someone for the realities of a challenging hike. However, it wasn't just TikTok that contributed to these problems, as another social media giant had already been popularizing hiking for years. Instagram, with its emphasis on aesthetics and visual storytelling, played a crucial role in transforming hiking from a simple outdoor activity into a curated, photogenic experience. The rise of Instagram hiking influencers changed the game. These adventurers showcased picture-perfect landscapes, stylish outdoor gear, and enviable lifestyles that made hiking seem less about getting sweaty on a trail and more about capturing that perfect sunrise shot. Suddenly, the great outdoors became the ultimate backdrop for self-love and personal branding. But this shift came with consequences. The pursuit of the perfect trail selfie began to influence hikers' behavior in ways that weren't always positive. Hikers started prioritizing photo opportunities over the actual hiking experience. They'd choose trails based on their Instagram potential rather than their natural beauty or challenge level. It was not uncommon to see people lugging heavy camera equipment up mountains or spending more time setting up shots than actually enjoying the view. This phenomenon led to the creation of Instagram spots, specific locations on trails that became popular solely because they made for great photos. Take Horseshoe Bend in Arizona, for example. This stunning viewpoint went from a relatively unknown spot to a major tourist attraction, largely thanks to its popularity on Instagram. The site now sees over 2 million visitors annually, a number that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. This increased exposure put a ton of pressure on these natural spaces. Popular Instagram spots often become overcrowded, with long lines forming just to take a photo from a particular viewpoint. This not only diminished the experience for other hikers, but also posed serious safety risks. In many cases, people put themselves in danger trying to recreate risky poses they'd seen on social media, with some even falling and passing away as a result of trying to take the perfect photo. Environmental advocates began to caution against geotagging popular hiking spots on social media. They argued that the precise location information led to overcrowding and degradation of natural spaces. Some parks and conservation areas even started asking visitors not to geotag their photos in an effort to protect sensitive ecosystems and stop the overcrowding. This has led many popular hiking destinations to turn to permit systems, which limit the number of hikers allowed on a trail each day, helping to prevent overcrowding and minimize environmental impact. But despite these efforts, some popular hiking areas have seen significant damage anyway. In California, the delicate poppy fields were trampled by visitors seeking the perfect selfie during a summer bloom, which led to outrage and stricter regulations. While in Baguio City in the Philippines, they had to close a hike due to tourists destroying plants, spraying graffiti, and leaving behind a lot of trash. So, does this mean that this new hiking hype has only brought negative aspects and destruction to the world? Well, not really, because it actually saved a lot of struggling economies as well. In 2019, before the pandemic-fueled hiking boom, the global hiking gear market was already valued at a staggering $4.5 billion. That's a lot of boots, backpacks, and trail mix. But this was just the beginning. As hiking fever spread, this figure skyrocketed, with local economies near popular trails experiencing a gold rush of their own. For years, the small town of Millinocket, Maine, nestled at the foot of Mount Katahdin, struggled after the closure of its paper mill. But as hikers flocked to tackle the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, the town found new life. Restaurants, gear shops, and lodges sprang up to cater to the influx of outdoor enthusiasts. It's a story repeated in countless communities across the country. Local businesses near popular trails have seen a surge in customers. Cafes serve up pre-hike breakfasts and post-trek beers. Hotels and campgrounds fill up with weary wanderers. Even businesses you wouldn't expect, like laundromats, have found a niche catering to hikers in need of clean clothes. The shift in hiking demographics has played a crucial role in this economic boom. As younger generations like Gen Z embrace the outdoors, they're bringing their values and spending habits with them. Adventure tourism is on the rise, with many young adults prioritizing experiences over material possessions. Local tourism boards and conservation groups have also benefited from hiking's newfound popularity. The Washington Trail Association, for instance, has leveraged the increased interest in hiking to advocate for more funding for trail maintenance and development. It's a win-win situation. More funds mean better trails, which in turn attract more hikers and boost local economies. As we look to the future of hiking, one thing is clear. It will continue to grow and become more popular, with Gen Z leading the charge into this new era of hiking. With 60.8% of them participating in outdoor sports, this generation isn't just hiking for the exercise or the views. They're seeking experiences, connections, and a deeper relationship with nature. However, it has also resulted in dangerous situations. Bluetooth speakers and obnoxious influencers ruining the peace and quiet, and the destruction of popular trails, which has led to frustration among many. I think the biggest negative I've seen is IG and others make everything seem so easy. This picture shows a girl at the top of a beautiful mountain wearing a sports bra and shorts and a fanny pack, when in reality, off to the side are the clothes she was wearing and her pack and boots and hiking partner, etc. It makes people at home think, wow, if she can just casually head up to that beautiful spot, then so can I. And that's the extent of their hiking research. While others simply adapted to this by visiting less popular spots, coming early and leaving late, or taking pictures of themselves for the sake of keeping memories. So what do you think? Has TikTok and social media ruined hiking? Or is it all just completely blown out of proportion? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.